Hey, Shrewdness fans.
Woo!
Welcome to the podcast today. Dex and Lou are with me here. Chiz is traveling this week. Let's get into our guillotine news. Dex is unable to speak because he lost his head this week.
Look, I think we're good at what we do. We all lasted quite a while. I think our thought processes were largely sound. It's a tough game. I'm not going to say we're the best, but we're pretty good. And it's a tough game.
One bad decision, and I made it 5 minutes before kickoff. I had two quarterbacks. I had Pat Mahomes, and I had Brock Purdy. And I just kind of almost did a coin toss in my head. I'm like, well, they're probably going to be pretty similar. Well, who cares? I'm going to pick up probably someone else next week. We'll see what's out there. I'm just going to play matchups from here on out. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to drop Brock Purdy and pick up Cortland Sutton just to screw people for next week. Because I had the highest projected score anyway by 12. I could have literally gone in backwards with no shoes. I could have Mac Hollins my way into the next round. If all I had to do is, I just had to be average. All I had to do is be average.
This is why the guy who had the most fab asked me how to best handle it. And I said, there is only one place where Dexter could theoretically improve. And that is if he pushed all in and you did not.
Burrow.
If you did not, Burrow is technically an upgrade for him. And I said, you chip whip him out of Burrow, then you take care of he has Lamar. So he had to have a quarterback. I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer. He kind of had to have it anyways.
And you only had one quarterback. He didn't have a backup.
Correct.
Yeah.
But that was a had-to-have situation. And you figured it out. Dex figured it out, and so he didn't even bid. He figured out that was exactly the scenario without, this was like whatever.
I mean, there's only one, and Josh needed a quarterback, and he had 40 more fab than me.
Yep, so. You did. You played it right by not even messing with it, but he had to play it that way. He could not mess around.
I know.
He had to have him, and that would have saved.
Like, knowing he would have, I just anticipated that was what he was going to do, and he would still have another 40 fab to bid on everybody else, which is still going to put me in spots. So I wanted to make sure I got the next best people. Because again,
you did right.
I felt very confident.
The rest of it.
So I had Saquon and Kamara who delivered subpar performances. So even though Saquon had 120 yards, he got to the half-yard line twice, and then Jalen Hurts fell in with a stupid-ass tush-push 2 more times. God, I hate it. And then Kamara, worst rushing game of the season, 47 yards, only 5 catches, so he's just average. Brock Bowers, number 1 tight end, horrible. Yeah. Didn't do anything. I think he had 6 or 7 points. Not good when you're averaging 17 to 20 every single week. James Cook, worst game in 2 seasons, so 4.9 points. Worst game since 2023. Awesome. Pat Mahomes did he was fine, but
average,
210 and a touchdown, not enough. And so at the end of the day, if I would have just started Purdy and dropped Mahomes by 5 minutes before kickoff decision, what it is, man. So I lost by 8 points. Projected to be the highest, scored 28 points below my projections. And that's how you lose your head.
And don't forget, now this was a crazy week. This was a crazy week.
It was.
Dexter was 20 points over the average projected cutoff line. But this was the biggest fantasy weekend in years. In guillotine history, it was the highest points ever scored around the league. There were teams that were scoring 200 points. There were teams that were scoring 190 and getting second. All right, we had a 190 score team in our league. So it was you would have been fine in 90% of seasons at this point. That's the even crazier part.
Yeah,
and he had a 30 on Monday night. He had a 30-point lead. He had a 30-point lead against
37.
2 players.
And I knew it was going to be bad because the 2 worst defenses in the NFL going against each other.
And they didn't even score that many points. It just happened to be the 2 players he was going against.
The right people,
And then here's the other thing that's just unbelievable. When I saw this is when all the bad mojo started happening. So John U. Smith had 0 points through an entire football game.
Mm-hmm.
0. And then I was fine, man. This guy was so buried.
He was dead. He was dead in the water.
He was just gone. Everybody was already looking ahead to next week. I too was looking at the line. I'm like, we don't even pick up players anymore. I'm like, I'm just going to go next week. And then overtime happened somehow because Miami.
The Jets are the Jets.
Drove down the field. The Jets jetted. Field goal went through. I'm like, oh no. And then I didn't even see overtime because on Red Zone, just switched to the other team. And then all of a sudden I look up and Johnny got a touchdown. I'm like, I didn't know he also had 2 more catches. The entire drive was Johnny Smith. So he went from 0 to 13
in one drive.
And I lost by 8 points.
That was it.
But for overtime, man. Just all these
if the
things.
Jets had played that even half-ass normal, you are safe. But the Jets actively pulled out a shotgun and blew their big toe off. It's the craziest thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, no one wants to hear more of that bitching. So I lost. I'm out. Didn't make the Final Four. But Padog is. Padog, who single-handedly carried you since we have strikingly similar teams except for one position? Who didn't even have this difference?
So midway through Sunday afternoon, I was polishing up my neck for a good chopping because I plummeted. I was supposed to hit 145 points, and I was projected at 106 at 3 o'clock because, like you said, Barkley average, Kamara average, AJ Brown, Bowers. So I was like, well, this is it. This is my bad week. I guess I'm toast. And I look an hour later. I was at an appointment or whatever. Couldn't watch the 3 o'clock games. And I check in. Holy crap. Josh Allen has 40-something points. And he's still playing.
And it's the third quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, back-to-back unbelievable Josh Allen performances have saved me.
We nailed that. Beginning of the year, we nailed that.
Like you mentioned, Lou, I was projected at 145, which was top for my league. I ended at 144 thanks to Josh Allen, and I got second to last. Our chop team got 130 points and got chopped, which is unbelievable.
Insane amount.
It was a crazy week. This is an atypical week. This is the kind of thing that happens. So.
All right, and then we'll give a quick voiceover for Chisholm, who can't join us tonight, but he kept his head in the relay. So moving on, and mostly it's because Jamar Chase, 14 and 180 and a couple tutties. It's very helpful on a Monday night when you're like projected to get your neck cut off. And I think similar thing, you end up with 140 or something, got next to last, third to last, but whatever. There you go.
Be safe. Yeah.
He's moving on. So we still got 2 of the shrewdness hanging out for Gio.
Look,
so we keep track of those.
Are you telling me Chisholm didn't do an actual call-in?
Oh, wait a minute. Is he calling in for you, Lou?
Did Chisholm call in? Pruitt, can you play that audio?
Let me find it.
Let me find it. So what I gotta say is, you wouldn't believe it, right? You just wouldn't believe it. It's crazy. You wouldn't believe it. Here I was, right? And I was about to go away, and then Jamar Chase. It was the most amazing thing. Go Golden Domers! Go Golden Domers! They're great. I love them Golden Domers. And then Jamar Chase saved me, and it was the best. Go Ice Cream, go Golden Domers. Good job, Chisholm. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, so there he goes. He's better than Mickey Mouse.
Dude, you were intoxicated in Vegas. What can I say? There's nothing I can add. It's how it works.
That's just amazing. Oh, good stuff. All right.
Good
so let's go
times.
we'll recap.
Miss a week at your own peril, son. Miss a week at your own peril.
Well, about that. Anyway, so this will be the last week of sleepers and spuds because, frankly, it's Final Four. And there's not really going to be much we can do. There's no more bye weeks. And if you got injuries, your bench should be stacked now because there's only 4 teams. And from here on out, you don't get to pick up the pieces. That's one saving grace. That's 2 years in a row. No one's going to use my players to win this shit. So that's cool. So you ain't getting Saquon. You don't get Kamara. No Bowers, no McBride, no Justin Jefferson. You guys can just kind of suck it. You have to win your own trash.
This is the week I went out last year too, and I felt the same way. It was
Yeah,
like, well,
I think I've
I had a
gone out
stacked
this
team,
week 2 years in a row. I
Yeah.
make the final deal where no one can lose players anymore. Whatever. I think James Cook screwed me 2 years in a row. I'm never drafting that asshole again. So I don't care. He's got
You
me
see
here.
DK Metcalf ain't on my team?
Yeah, nope. I hear you. Like he's getting shoved down the draft board out
Well,
of principle.
DK Metcalf killed everybody way earlier this year. That's for sure.
No, he did. But let's go. So last week,
Our spuds, at least.
yeah, we can recap. Let's recap our sleepers, and then we'll kind of put a nail in that segment for
we'll
this.
put a bow on it.
Yep.
So what do we got?
So, Dex went with Debo Samuel in week 14. Debo did not perform.
Continue to disappoint. I think he
Yeah.
just might be dead.
I seriously considered picking him up as a flyer, and I was like, nope, I just can't do it. I had him on my team.
I'm glad you didn't. He's just a flat tire. You know when you get a flat tire sometimes, you pump it up and it just never gets there? There's something wrong with Debo. I don't know what it is.
Well, and then he sent out a social media post, and it like criticized the team. It was a big mess, and he won't apologize for sending out the social media post. It's rotten in Denmark stuff right now.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's
good.
too bad. So Debo did not hit. Jaden Reed just forgot to show up.
I got to say, this was well known throughout the fantasy world. Putting up a donut in that game was insane. Everybody laughed about it. Ha, ha, ha. But yes, a literal donut. And he was out there running laps. That dude ran routes. And Dontavian Wicks and Christian Watson just caught everything. And a little bit of Tucker Craft and zero ball.
The weird thing is he had one target, which is unbelievable because I started him in my other league.
Yeah.
And
he did get a target? I thought he
one target. Yeah. I just couldn't believe it.
That was a ball that was like kind of low and away. It would have been a tough catch, but anyway, didn't come up with it.
It's brutal. So anyway,
big fail on that one.
So 0-2. Luckily, Jacoby Myers came through. He had 14-something points. So he got to the 13.
13.7, but I think whatever our threshold, I'm counting him as
13 was our threshold. So if you hit 13, although this week technically 13 was not good.
Yeah,
but
13 was
we will go with the historical line, not with how crazy this week was.
I would have taken it. I should have taken him over stupid James Cook, and I'd be still cooking.
And then, so the other thing that saved me is I took a flyer on Adam Thielen. I had injury, and I had 3 guys on bye, and I had McConkey and Kenneth Walker were both hurt. So I
think everybody would agree if he's available and you can justify dropping your worst guy. I think Bryce Young is real. We were just talking off air. Those shrewdness Patreon people got that with the extras. Bryce Young's real, and there's a world now where the Panthers, after being ridiculed for 2 straight years, may actually have gotten the guy over Stroud and Caleb Williams. Maybe it may not be, but there's at least nobody can argue when I say this out loud.
It's not beyond the realm of possibilities.
Which is amazing.
He showed a lot of growth the last 5 games, 6 games.
And here's what's scary about Thielen. So while we're kind of hitting on him too, I looked at his stat today. He's been getting 28.9% of the target share.
Yep.
That's a lot. There's multiple things, but you got tight ends, you got running backs, you got other wideouts. It might have been plays. I think it was just offensive plays are going to him.
Wow. And he catches everything still. At 48 or whatever he is, that dude catches everything. Every time that ball's within 2 yards of him, he vacuums it in. It's amazing.
If they would have thrown that last ball to him instead of Xavier Legette, that would have been a Panthers win.
But he couldn't have. But Xavier Legette dusted his guys. That was.
So I saw that
Thielen
too.
Wasn't dusting his guys. That wasn't happening.
They had one safety back, and he shaded to Legette's side. So Thielen had a one-on-one at the top of the screen that I was watching.
Yeah.
And they threw it into kind of double coverage, and Leggett.
I still love
Couldn't go
Leggett,
get
though.
it.
That dude is a pimp.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
could
between
be.
those two guys and Bryce Young coming on, they're going to have a decent
Kind
team
of
next year.
excited for the Panthers' future.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next year's kind of draft prep. I think Xavier Leggett's going to be a part of our discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, my redraft keeper league, I've kept him on my bench, even though I'm not going to play him in the playoffs. Just
Now,
so
you don't
I
need
can.
to play him this year. I'm saying,
Yeah, I just got him
year
held
guy.
so I can. I think I'm going to keep him as one of my
So-
keepers.
Let's put a bow on our sleepers. Overall, we were hitting over 50% of our sleeper picks this year,
Boom!
which
Your
is
sleeper shrewdness
let's
welcome.
take a moment to pat ourselves on the back because that was a lot better than what we thought
Yeah, that's
that we would hit.
fantastic.
All right, spud that up.
So Spuds
I'm
this week.
excited about Spuds finally.
Lou, would you like to tell us your Spud from last week?
I called the everybody's darling Bucky Irving with 2 injuries in a game that they were supposed to win handily, which they kind of did, though there was the most turnovers I think I've ever seen in a National
So
Football
many,
League
like
game ever.
back
It was
to back
amazing.
to back to back.
But the guy had 2 separate injuries, and they had healthy personnel, and you could just tell they were like, "Nah, dude, just chill. We're gonna win this game." He was out by like the first quarter, and he didn't come back in. Rashad White had a great game, by the way, for those who would have taken the alternate side of if I was right and gone with Rashad White. He looked great. And so, yes, Bucky Irving, too much injury, too much nonsense, and he was a great spud pick. I was super happy.
No, He was money.
So Lou hit. I took Najee Harris, who also was not good. He had, I think, 11 something points.
Yeah, the thing
So,
is,
not
him,
terrible,
he
but
fell in the end zone. That's
Yeah.
what helped him out.
That's right.
So I think
Even
he
with
had
the
40 yards.
even with the
but a flop.
touchdown, he barely got to 11. Right.
Yeah, 40.
So he was under the number, and especially for this week, definitely a spud this week.
Yep.
All right, and then so for me, I picked Malik Neighbors, and for 56 minutes, totally nailed it.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, he caught a phenomenal, weird, I think 30-yard play down to the 1-yard line. So that was 4 points right there. And then he got the 2-point conversion. So he snuck in a quick 6 in the last 4 minutes of the game. He was at 8. So I felt pretty good.
He was a spud, and he barely squeaked over. He still probably wasn't a good start.
No, he should. If you started him, it's just because you didn't have anybody else, or you're just a whatever glutton for punishment.
I mean, he is projected high on Fantasy Pros. Like
he was.
He is still considered somebody you are probably supposed to be starting, but that team terrifies me. Like I fade them every week in betting, man.
Well, you know they're
not this week. Spoiler alert.
All right, so we went 2-2 on our spuds this week.
Yeah,
so
Chisholm took Kyron Williams.
Oh yeah,
was the other
Kyron Williams. So all 23.7 of those came across the line for everybody.
Oh, that was a good start.
Yeah,
that was a good start.
It was. That's what I wanted James Cook to do. I mean, who would have figured with 42 points on your offense and you do none of it?
Yeah, what's that?
That's just unbelievable.
The Star Wars meme of Anakin Skywalker and Padme. They scored 42 points. That means that James Cook did well, right? Right?
You would think, man, if you looked at the box score alone, you'd be like, how many did I get? Oh boy, would you have been disappointed. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so what's our final season? I think we did pretty well because we started so bad. We started 0-4 on our first week of doing it. I think we actually rallied back pretty close.
Well, we're right now. We're sitting at 52% hit rate.
There we go.
So we're in good shape. Good. I think we can still continue to name some spuds.
Yeah, spuds are fun. I'm happy to continue trying to hit the spuds. Because it doesn't really matter if they're available or whatever. I just like the predictive value of it. It's not going to necessarily matter. You're going to start who you're going to start. Whether we think they're a spud or not, it doesn't matter. But I like being on record who we think is going to suck this weekend.
Well, it's not necessarily that you're going to go find somebody different, but you should have 3 to 4 players on your bench that you could start in the spud's place.
That's true. You should have some backups. At this point, if your bench isn't startable, with no buys.
So going back to I hate to rehash keep rehashing it, but going back to our earlier segment, I had, like I said, 3 players on bye and 2 injuries and a quarterback. That was my bench.
Yeah.
So I had literally
You had
zeros all the
nobody.
way down my bench.
We're
Yeah.
done with
So-
that, though. No more buys, and if they're
Yes,
injured at
yeah.
this point and you don't think they're coming back, they should be in the waiver pool with other people.
Yep.
So I will take the first spud of the week, and I'm going to go with what I don't know if this is widely thought of, but here's my thought process. I'm going to go with Monty.
Really?
All right.
So here's my thought. We have Detroit Buffalo in a dome, right?
Yeah.
And we have seen both of these teams now have a little bit difficult time with defense, and points have been aplenty. I think this is a situation where Montgomery's going to get taken out of the game because we're dealing with another 35 to 35 type thing where it's going to be running by Josh Allen or passes, and that's going to like be pushing that direction. And then at the same time, when it is basically not a chance to like consistently run, they run with Gibbs as like almost like a tight end in the backfield more than anything else. And there's going to be a constant push for like passing, quick offense, trying to keep pace. I think Montgomery's going to get like kind of phased out a little bit because of that. So I think Montgomery's actually going to have a rough run this week. That's my prediction.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with the 2-headed monster. I mean, there's always that risk anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't seem to do hot hand. They just both seem to get 20 points every freaking week, which I don't know how that's happened. I just cannot believe
It's like they're
a
like
player in our
my
league has
mother
survived
with like
this
children. I'm going to give the exact amount of money / carries to you, and I'm going to give the same amount of money / carries to you. Like they're very like even. If you look at all the weird stats, it's crazy to watch.
I love you all the same.
Exactly the same.
Exactly.
The same.
Except when I don't.
Yeah.
All right, Padog, who do you got?
All right. This week, Aaron Jones is facing Chicago, and that's an in division game. He's had a couple up and down games. He's been up more than down lately, but I think he might struggle this week against the Chicago defense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see any Niners that would agree with you. I mean, except Debo. I scratched that.
Okay, but I would go with Pruitt on this in that when you are at that bad, you're not that bad. When you have your worst game, you're never as bad as your worst game, and the Bears had their worst game of the season. That was their worst game of the season. It's not close.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
they are not that bad. And they're bad,
Right.
but they're not that bad.
I think they're well, and especially they struggled to score points. They gave up a lot too, I guess, but still, in division game and the widespread and all that kind of stuff, I think that favors the underdog a lot of times.
I will also say Aaron Jones has been unseasonably healthy all year. All right, he's due for another one of those.
Don't shut up, dude. What's wrong with you? He's fine. Let him make it through a season without your negativity.
Apparently, you haven't watched football in the last few years because Aaron Jones, the hammy big McHammerson, is absolutely due for another hammy pull.
That's why we do minimal use. That's why we're passing so much from the Vikings.
Right.
Yes,
All
that's
right.
why
Which
you
is
shut
why-
everybody down up 3 touchdowns. Oh, wait, no, you didn't. You just kept pouring it on.
It's not true. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to the well. I think Chisholm was just off a week. I think Kyron Williams is going to be a spud this week because short week. We're doing a Thursday night game, interdivision game. They know what they're going to do. They know the plays. They've seen it all. They do it twice a year, every single year. I don't know. I just don't. He's not going to flop in for 2 more touchdowns. I don't think. I think they're going to be these games, these interdivision games. I mean, I know sometimes they go high. But
Thursday night games usually
yeah.
suck. That's like an
Thursdays.
80% hit rate at sucky
On the
games on
under.
Thursday nights, and then every once in a while it's a
But I
scoring
know
explosion.
I know who the Rams aren't going to go away from. And it's freaking Puka Nacua and his 48 looks a game. Like Cooper Kupp is arguably a Hall of Fame wideout. He's still pretty freaking good, and they just make him a blocker on
Yeah.
all these plays. Like he just runs out to go
Yeah,
block
but
the
I gotta
Puka as
say,
he runs it. He's running
objectively,
rushers.
Puka Nacua is insane.
He's good.
Like the stuff that he was doing in that game is just like Hall of Fame caliber play, making crazy catches, running through people. Like I heard the analogy Deebo Samuel's 2.0 or what they really
Yes.
wanted with Deebo Samuel's, and that's what
Yep.
he is. He is
It
terrifying.
is. Like he's not a Jamar Chase. He's exactly what you said, man. He's that in the prime Debo where he just like every time this guy
Just
touches it,
such
jet
a-
sweeps, runs, short passes, deep balls across the middle. He's
Yeah.
always open.
such a
and-
playmaker, and turns a
Yeah.
5-yard catch into a 30-yard gain.
And he's
Yeah.
fun. He's a fun. If you ever hear him talk, that guy loves ball, and he's fun to hear talk. He's just like, you would totally be that dude's friend. He is like the coolest guy. Ugh.
Yeah, I think so. So that's what we got. So our Spuds, and like I mean, we
I would like to
take
quick
high-risk
piggyback,
dudes.
just so you're aware, and I have been keeping a good like watch on it. Also, this Blake Corum thing, there's a
Yeah,
weird
he's
thing
getting
where
more
Sean
carries.
McVay is like, I want my own Gibbs Monty thing, and so
Yep.
Blake Corum is getting this like 30%
Extended
to
looks.
40% like looks. It's crazy.
And that's the other reason I'm kind of downgrading Kyron because, I mean, if he would have gotten in the end zone, and Corum had an opportunity, and then they brought Kyron Williams in, he got in. But Blake Corum is getting extended drives now. Like at the beginning of the year, I even made fun of it. We even had a reel we put up on our socials that Kyron won't let anyone else on the field. That's no longer the case. Blake Corum has budged his way on there. He's kind of stuck a door wedge in there, and he's getting time. And I think they also want to see what they have. But Blake Corum is going to get more run. I think that puts Kyron Williams down. That's why I wasn't really all in on him as an end-game player, really, because that was trending up, and Kyron Williams was trending down
so
anyway
good, though,
without
man.
the extra.
Watching when he's in there, he's mostly better than Blake Corum. I watched a substantial amount of that, and he looked good.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It is.
All right, we're gonna move on. We got another segment then.
Did Chisholm call in a Notre Dame pick or anything or anybody not from Notre Dame that could be a spud this week? Because we all know the Golden Domers are.
The Golden Domer, blah blah blah. That's why I agree with Dex. Sweet, thanks, Chisholm.
All right, there we go. I'll go with that. That sounded fine. I heard a lot of grunts and moans and cigar pulls. So that sounded basically that's all you get from Chisholm anyway. So I don't know what else you could want.
There we
go. Laughing in the background when you make a.
Sorry, I had to do a Chisholm random like hyper laugh into the mics.
All right, so Kyron Williams, Monty, and Aaron Jones are our spuds for this week. So our predictions, if you have someone better or equal, throw them in instead. But do as you will. You're in the Final Four.
Yeah, at this point, your shrewdness proof. There's very little we're gonna do at this point. So we thought we'd do a fun transition gambling segment. We are now 4 games left in the season. FanDuel, not that we're sponsored. We would love to be sponsored. Not that we're sponsored by FanDuel, but if we were, they've got actually to make the playoff bets for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams. All right. And we basically cold are running this against Dexter, but we're all going to come up with our narratives and what we think is going to happen and what our best bets for these 9 teams are to make or miss the playoffs with 4 games to go. All right?
Let's start with AFC.
First team I have in the AFC is the Denver Broncos. Make or miss the playoffs. Dexter, what do you think?
I think they make the playoffs.
Well, so does FanDuel.
Denver is 8-5, along with 3 other teams in the AFC.
Yep. So I think this week they're playing the Colts at home. I think that's going to be a win. I think once you get to 9 wins, it's going to be tough to not make the playoffs because then they just have to win 1 of 3. I think Cincinnati is definitely beatable for Denver because their defense. So I'm giving them up to 10 wins. I think the Chargers are going to be a tough game. I think they probably lose that game. And the Chiefs game week 18, I'm hopeful they're playing against the backups. I'm hopeful that thing is so locked up the Chiefs don't even – they might do the first drive or the first half, and then no starters are playing.
All right,
Denver could do that
Trivia question. What's the over-under right now for the Denver Broncos?
for wins?
For wins. They are 8-5. What's their over-under?
Probably 9.5.
It is exactly 9.5 with juice. Hard juice.
Yeah.
So if you go over, you're going to get half of your money back. If you go under, it's half of your money back. If you go whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. So basically, people expect them to win 10 games.
Yep.
Like
10
hard
and 7's
10
kind of where I
cap.
got them.
Yep.
So extreme minus odds to get to over 9.5.
Minus 300 to make the playoffs. You would not minus 300 to make the playoffs. So you wouldn't probably take that, right? That's just too much on the negative side. You're not going to fade Denver. You think they're going to make it?
I do. I think they're going to be
All
10 and 7. I think they're in the playoffs.
All right, next AFC team, the aforementioned and playing the Broncos, Indianapolis Colts, who are currently
6-7.
6-7. They're 2 games behind the 8-5 playoff teams. They have 4 games to make up 2 games. Where are you at, Dex?
So looking at their schedule, at Denver, home against Tennessee, at Giants, home against Jacksonville, they've got a pretty cush finish. So I think they lose this weekend at the Mile High. But then, I mean, if you can't beat Will Levis and or Mason Rudolph and that ratty Tennessee team, you don't need to go to the playoffs anyway. So it'll be a division game. They're at home. I think they win that. The Giants, like we've said, it's going to be a draft pick. Dable's not going to try to win that damn thing.
Not at all.
So
they are not trying to win that game.
And Jacksonville's going to be in the same boat because they're not
Exactly.
bringing Trevor Lawrence back for Week 18. So that's 3-1, and that gets me to 9-8. So
is 9-8 good enough? Is 9-8 good enough? Are the Chargers or the Broncos or the Ravens going to fall off enough to have that matter?
No, I think they're on the outside looking in.
So it's still a no, and that's why no is minus 300. Yes is plus 235. You're not taking either of those bets, right?
No.
All right, next AFC team, Miami Dolphins. We could probably run this pretty quick based upon your assessment. Miami Dolphins are also 6-7. What's their final run?
So their final 4, they got at Houston, home against San Fran, at Cleveland, at Jets. I think Houston is going to beat them, so now they're 6-8. San Fran, I think, is a better team when they play, but boy, now they're on a 4th string running back. And if Bosa's back, I don't know if he'll be back. I don't know. I think Miami can beat San Fran at home. So I'm giving them the W, but that's a shaky dub. That's going to be a close one. And then what's funny is I think when they go to Cleveland, it's going to be cold, probably snowy, and Tua just doesn't do that. So that's a loss in my book, and Cleveland plays well at home. I think Jameis is going to have just enough. And then the Jets,
minus 590, it's probably not happening.
So that's an 8-9 team to me. That's a big fat no.
They're out. They're done. All right, we're moving on to the NFC. All right, starting with the Arizona Cardinals. They are 6-7. The division leader for them is the Seahawks at 8-5. The NFC North is crushing all of the actual playoff spots at 9-4. So no relief there. Can the Cardinals rally back from 6-7?
So, Prue, you want to take this one, or you want me to keep on running through?
So go ahead and run it if you want. We talked a little bit before the show. Lou and I did.
That's for the Patreon.
I'm a little tainted on my take because I've heard the answer.
So for Arizona, I mean, if you look at the next 4 games, they got home against New England, at Carolina, at Rams, home against San Fran. I think home against New England, they should be able to win, but I think it's going to be a tougher game than what they think. I think Carolina's going to beat their ass. I think they're playing tough, and it's exactly the game that Arizona loses. They're going to travel and lose. I think the Rams, they're trying to get their own way in, which I'm sure we're going to get to later.
We are getting to.
They lose to the Rams. I think San Fran, at the end of the day, San Fran's just going to want to screw them out of principle. I think Bosa will be back. I think they lose 3.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend too much time. The no is minus 2,200. The yes is plus 980. If you think somehow they're going to pull this out, even though they're not that far out, the issue is if
they
somehow
really are,
it's really more of a Seattle and theoretically Green Bay. If Green Bay goes in the tank, it opens doors, right? What's Green Bay's schedule look like? Well, my thought is 9-4 is good, but if Green Bay goes in the tank, that could happen.
They have to
right?
lose all of them. Week 15, Green Bay's at Seattle.
Let's take a quick look. I can give it to you right here. I got it in front of me. I got Green Bay still has to play Seattle. That could be a loss. That's at home.
At Seattle.
Or it's probably not a loss, but it could be a loss. New Orleans, Minnesota, and Chicago.
Ooh.
So
at Vikings
I think
will be a tough one.
Yeah, I've got 10-7 for Seattle finishing up. Are you talking Seattle or are you talking Green Bay?
This is Green Bay's schedule. Seattle, New Orleans, Minnesota, and Chicago.
Yeah, that's a tough schedule. I think Green Bay wins 2 of those games, though, and gets in. So, I'm not too worried about them.
It would be a tough stretch for them to lose 3 or 4.
That's where I'm at. Because
against that one.
They own Chicago. Even though they barely squeaked through it with a Chiefs-like victory with a blocked field goal.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even know if Chicago got the ball up. I think they totally fumbled that one. Yeah, they didn't even get the ball, right? Remember that game? Green Bay and Chicago? I can't remember if they did the exact same thing and blocked it or if they just missed it. Regardless. It was a missed field goal or blocked field goal. But that's not looking good. But when I look at Seattle, though, they're 8-5 now. I give them 2-2 going down the stretch. I think they're 10-7. So whatever that leaves them at the end of the day, that's going to be the best case scenario for them, I think. Is that kind of where you're at?
So Packers are in the
I think
10-7 or 11-6.
Yep. And depending on, I guess, who wins this game, right? Wouldn't the tiebreaker go right there?
We're talking about Green Bay still?
Yeah, Green Bay and Seattle.
So Green Bay is going to have 10 wins or 11 wins, right?
Yep.
So anybody we are talking about has to win their division or get to 10 or 11 wins, right?
Yeah.
So do you
with 4
think?
To play.
So Cardinals are out. So now we're on to Atlanta, right? And I just want to keep that Green Bay thing in mind because I think it's important when you're thinking about what needs to happen next, right? The next order process. So you have Atlanta. We just did Arizona. Atlanta, 6-7. Division leader is 7-6. However, they have the tiebreaker.
Yeah,
They swept. They swept Tampa.
Yep.
I've got them as a no. I've got 2-2 going down the stretch, 8-9 outside looking in, and I think Tampa Bay is going to win. I've got them winning at least 2, and that puts them at 9-7 minimum, 9-8.
So it's just a Kirk thing, right? He's done.
Wait, I just think that Washington's a better team than them. And I think Carolina will have enough in just a screw you factor because I don't know if they're necessarily going for a draft pick week 18. They might just at least you ain't going either. And I think I can see Carolina doing a screw week that week, and they're playing well.
Atlanta is slightly positive value to make the playoffs, plus 152. They are minus 188. They're right there on the cusp. And it makes sense. They only have to
8.5.
They only have to play basically 500 football if Tampa Bay plays 500 football the rest of the way. So it's feasible, but they've lost 4 straight, right? What do you expect at this point?
But
how do they turn it on?
If they both go 2-2, Tampa wins by a game.
That's right.
Correct. I see what you're saying. But that it has to be exactly 2-2 because then that would be 8-9. But you wouldn't have a positive record.
I think Tampa can go and beat Dallas. It's at Dallas. We know Dallas doesn't win at home.
So Rams,
Panthers,
I think this is the one I think is the most interesting. Here's where we're at. We have a team that just beat the best team in football because we know the Chiefs aren't the best team in football because everybody has told us that, right?
Oh, yeah. They're not.
So the best team in football is the Bills, though they happen to lose to the Rams. And the Rams just beat the best team in football. So the Rams are 7-6. They are 1 game in the loss column behind the Seahawks. Are they split? Or who won the first matchup?
Rams.
Rams won the first one.
Yep. In overtime, 26-20. That was the
That
long
would be, there it is,
Demarcus Robinson
26-20. I've got
touchdown,
it in front
wasn't
of me, and they still play on. They're the final. That's delightful. So basically,
That
you
could-
get
yeah.
to call the playoff
That'll be a
game
fun one.
now, theoretically, right?
That could come down to the January 5th matchup.
So you have
Yeah.
an option right now to bet the Rams at plus 154 to make the playoffs, and they get their destiny in the final week of the season.
And they own it. Yeah, I think I would take that one. I think I might place that after this show.
Well, we got before the millions of shrewdness fans listen to this and also
Yeah.
go out there and slam the Rams. But that's why I was going
the
through
thing
how
is,
easy it was to basically kind of call a lot of these things. And then to have the Rams, who have a manageable schedule, the Seahawks have a
Very
difficult
manageable.
schedule. And as long as they are close, if they tie, the Rams win.
Yep.
Yep.
They get a
That's
playoff
it.
game.
I mean, even if they go 2-2, they're 9-8, and they'll have a tiebreaker, right?
Yep,
Well,
they got a
yeah,
tiebreaker
they should.
on the
They should have a
Seahawks.
tiebreaker, yeah.
Seahawks go to Seahawks though have to go 1-3, but the
And
Seahawks
even if
final.
they lose to San Fran, they'll just be split, so that won't be one. And San Fran's not going to be a tiebreaker, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's a
Seahawks
big deal.
have Green Bay, which technically they are not favored. They have Minnesota at home, but Minnesota is going to be a tight game. Minnesota also needs it. And then
They're
they
probably
have
favored.
Chicago, and then the aforementioned playoff game. That looks like a 1-3 stretch to me right now.
Yeah, I've got 2-2 just because I think they can. I think they can beat Green Bay at home, but that could easily go the other way. I'm totally with you. So they're either
That's a
10-7
pretty
or
good bet. Plus
9-8.
154,
Yeah,
worth a
I kinda
couple
like that
units, I think.
I kinda
That's a
like that one.
shrewdness special. Rams to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
But
I like
if
that.
you're doing that, you also have the option to fade the Seahawks at plus 128. You can take both sides of that. Because do you think the Seahawks are going to outplay the NFC North?
That's what it boils down to, right? The last
I don't
Right?
think so. Like I said, Green Bay only has to win 2, and they're already at 11.
You can take both
No way
sides
to.
of it. If we're just saying Rams are making the playoffs, if you make that bet, it doesn't make sense to not also concurrently fade the Seahawks, which you get plus money on both sides.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah,
So it's like
Shrewdness special.
that's
It's like a
it.
2-for-1.
2 for. All right, I think we had one other team we want to talk about, right? Washington.
We had Bucks and Washington. I think both are tough because they are strongly likely to make the playoffs, and the odds reflect it as such. And I don't think anybody's going to fade unless you really feel like fading the Commanders. And that would be the fun part.
My thing is they get to go against a third-string quarterback in New Orleans this week. That's a win. That's 9-5. Okay, they lose at Philly, 9-6, and then Atlanta could go either way, I guess technically, but
I don't know, man. I think Cousins is cooked. If we think
But even if you
they're
give
not
them
making the
loss-
playoffs, I would just go with they're cooked.
But worst case, Washington has 10 wins, and that's it.
Yeah,
So that's pretty good.
like
So if
it.
they get 11, though, I don't know. So Washington and Philly, that could be an interesting game for a lot of people that took the NFC East winner at the beginning of the season. So that's going to be a division-deciding game. That'll be kind of fun.
Man, I
Potentially.
AJ Brown is like tweeting out or Xing out random stuff. There's all kinds of like drama going on. They have one of the worst coaches in the league. Yes, right, Sirianni. You may be a shrewdness fan, but it doesn't matter. I'll still call you out. All right?
That's right. We are open and honest news source. We are unbiased.
Sirianni's
Okay, that's probably not true.
terrible.
We're very biased.
Coaching football. I'll call you. That's right. Bring it.
Yeah, we might have been off a couple months because he was one of our early shrewdness picks to be fired by October. Then they accidentally started winning. But
yeah, well, they didn't accidentally.
Like
they signed Saquon Barkley to a ridiculously undervalued contract, and he has played on a down ballot MVP level as a running back, which is why it is not the coach.
Yeah, no, he's a beast. All right, so that's pretty good. I like it. So that's kind of our look ahead for the teams remaining that are in the playoff hunt. So if you want to follow us, looks like we've kind of talked ourselves into the Rams making the playoffs, fade Seattle. That's kind of the two best bets, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think
where we're
that's post game. We're going to be throwing some units on Rams to make, Seattle to miss. You get plus money on both sides. I think both options are good.
And no one else really has many good odds because we think they're going to lose, and that's where the odds are too. So it doesn't do much good.
Both leagues are somewhat divided. There's like a clear divide between the top tier teams and then the rest, right? That are all on the outside looking in right now, trying to squeak out a few wins.
Yeah, for the most part, AFC's locked.
We are a technically Missouri-centric process here, right?
Well, yeah, right. There's no doubt about it.
So we did have kind
Midwest.
of a thing this last Sunday. We probably need to be bringing it up. It's kind of a thing. What could I be talking about there, John Dexter?
For a Midwest thing? I don't know. I was just waiting to see where we can go with
What could I possibly be talking about? Oh, I don't know. Possibly a number one ranked team in the nation. Going to a far superior university.
I thought we were talking
and playing
football.
basketball.
Throwing me off. No one cares about this.
Playing basketball at the highest level of the collegiate game.
They already lost
and
to
get
Creighton.
Spanked. Getting spanked.
All right.
Like a little bee, just getting spanked. You gotta go like tail between your legs and leave before the court storming.
All right, well,
it was delightful. Shrewdness fans, I know you're here for this. Shrewdness fans.
I don't know if they are, and they might be leaving.
It was so delightful.
Let's keep it moving. So the Jayhawks didn't show up in Columbia. Sounds good. Good job, Lewis. Way to go. You did it. You bet the house on Kansas to ensure they would not win.
I did. I in fact did throw the cooler on Kansas to make sure this happened.
You almost bought a yacht doing it.
That's right.
It got down like you were staring at a yacht or a Mizzou win. At some point, you had to start thinking like,
oh, these were live bets. Yeah, no.
Nice.
Once Missouri went up and I got plus money on Kansas, my goal was to make sure the gambling gods were aware that I was throwing units. I was making sure the gambling gods were not going to give me this for free.
Yep. No, I took my big bet when it got to plus 14.5 for Kansas. I'm like, no way they're losing by that much. And so
and by the way, Missouri almost peed down their leg, but then they ended up winning pretty strikingly. It was great. It was fun. You're going to get more Mizzou content from this podcast, whether Dexter wants it or not. It's happening.
I like Mizzou as well when they're not playing Kansas. It's fine. Like, it's just one of those things. I have family that went to the university, but then my dad also went to Mizzou, so I got a little whatever.
It was your dad and your uncle, and your uncle was actually like a guy and like an important guy at MU, but that's fine. That's fine. Just go ahead and you poop on everything that really matters and pick.
Ouch. Okay, let's move on. Let's go.
Quadros Raiders.
Picks.
All right.
Let's go to our gambling picks from last week. But dog, do you want to just who wants to take this one?
Oh,
it was so bad. Chisholm didn't even show up this week.
Yeah. Chisholm's still licking his wounds from all the bets he lost.
We all had to lick. We had a straight offer, right?
Straight offer.
Which have we even had one of those this season?
No,
is that number one?
I think we did have one, and that was. Remember, we talked about the time before that was like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, it might be true. So we don't throw too many.
To be fair,
out.
We were sitting pretty through like three quarters. Yeah. I was counting my money.
We were, we were had our sights on 4-0, and then suddenly it's like everything goes wrong.
John Smith showed up in overtime.
Giants were up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, Atlanta had the ball in his 21-21 game, so I don't know what you're supposed to do with that, except just lose, I guess. And then they threw a pick and fumbled a kickoff. It's strikingly similar to last week when I had Tennessee. Threw a pick, fumbled a kickoff. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I picked teams that just don't know how to hang on to the ball. That's good.
So the goal is either fade Dexter or Dexter has to fade himself at this point, right? Because we are at 0 for how many in a row? Quite a few.
Well, Chisholm,
Even Lewis,
amazing.
who also sucks, has gotten a couple. Like the blind Lewis Squirrel has found some ridiculous nuts every once in a while, but not last week.
Yeah,
we did.
Even though it's funny,
We did put the hex on Chisholm last week because he had hit like
yeah,
6 in a
you
row.
totally did it. You totally Justin Tuckered him like he will never miss, and then he is terrible. Just whiffed like a lot of bets this week.
I did. I missed on Miami for the second time this season. I lost by a half point on a team that won the game.
Yeah, I actually got the push on that because I had -6, and so when they scored, I got the push.
I thought I did too, but I looked again and I was at
On
6.5.
I got the Miami because I got it at -5.5. I had the miracle whatever, but at the same time, I had no real money because everything was in a parlay, so it didn't actually count.
Yeah,
Like,
so our picks.
I got the
last week
one.
were-
I got one.
Okay. So we had Atlanta plus 5.5 at Minnesota. It did not work out, even though it was a highly contested game for 45 minutes, really for 50 minutes, and then just all hell broke loose in Minnesota. Started dropping dimes and getting turnovers, and I think Kirk Cousins threw 2 picks and they fumbled. So 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter alone is how you get beat 42-21 when it started 21-21. So lost that one. Another one. Seriously, just fade me. Just seriously fade me.
All right, but we're going to turn the page. We got it this week. We're that bad. We're going to be conversely this good.
Arizona -2. We lost that. Miami -6. Talked about that. And then New Orleans -5 at the Giants.
They were up 2 touchdowns, and then just everything went to hell.
That was lock, stock, and barrel, and we lost. That was our last week. That's enough said about that. But at least wanted to go through what it was because here at the Shrewdness, we're accountable for our losses. We will also take credit and pat our backs on our wins. We're going to do both. But that's the way it's recorded. We ain't no crappy show that just talks about the next week and just conveniently forgets that they ate the lunch last week.
That's a good point. You know, there's not enough shows out there that are accountable for their crappy picks.
We got to remember there's places you can go for great, always accurate picks. You're here partly for the laughs, okay? Partly for the laughs. I'm not going to lie.
I would say
I
mostly
don't know if they're
for the
really
laughs.
much better. Yeah, I don't know if they're really, I mean, they're better than me because I can't pick anything. But if you faded me all season, you are like
just
12-2. 12-2 if you faded me this year.
You are yacht level if you faded Dex this year. But you know what? He's done the research this week and he's got you. This week, though. This week, Lucy, in the football, he's got you.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go with it. And it's a week to week to week narrative. They've lost every single time. I think they're due though. I think Carolina has to actually finish. They've been getting seasoned against Kansas City, Philly, Tampa, 3 playoff teams by our count.
Their caliber of play has been actually good. I like good. Carolina for their play.
Now they get the lowly Dallas Cowboys, who may start looking at draft picks themselves. They're a shell of themselves. I think Carolina, they're 2.5-point favorites. And it's weird to say, hey, I'm going to take Carolina favored over Dallas. But that's what I'm doing. Screw it. I mean, it's probably supposed to go the other way. So maybe Dallas erupts for 40 points this week. Sounds good. But I'm going Carolina -2.5. Whatever.
I will say Cooper Rush looked better. He looked more like that weird half-decent quarterback. But, yeah, no, I think that's a reasonable pick. I've liked how Carolina has played. They seem to have their, stuff in order. I'm not going to in any way say that that's not a terrible pick.
All right. Lou, who do you want to go with?
So, I feel like this might be a little public. I hate that I'm doing it, but I'm going with the narratives. That's how I do it, man. I suck at trying to, go through the numbers and come up with the right answer. I'm going to go with the narratives. And the narrative, I think, is the following. Let Russ cook. All right? I think Russell Wilson is back. I actually believe in Russell Wilson at this point. They did not have Pickens last weekend. Didn't matter. They were still fine. They still blew Cleveland's doors. Philly has been ass. Ass plus. That's the best I can say for they almost lost to the
Giants.
Panthers.
Or Panthers.
All right? They were an inch of a drop ball away from losing to the Panthers. And guess what? The Chiefs almost did the same thing. And what happened the following week? They didn't cover. We have 5.5 points. And Philly did this against Carolina last week. Pittsburgh looks great. They've got their stuff in order. They've got a coach that is an order of magnitude smarter and better put together. Absolutely. I'm going to take the public pick. I'm absolutely taking the points with Pittsburgh.
I like it. Podog. Where are you at? What do you got and why?
Oh, so I think my favorite pick this week. I don't know. I'm getting on board with Denver lately. I think they've come on strong mid-season. Bo Nix is figuring things out. They're
Hall
at
of
home
Fame
this
quarterback
week.
there.
And Chisholm loves Bo Nix, so he probably completely agrees with this pick.
That's right.
That's right. Hold up. I think I got a call for Chisholm. He just called in.
Chisholm, what do you think about?
Bo Nix sucks. What? Why would you ever pick Bo Nix? I'm not going to veto, but I gotta say, I don't really like the pick. Why are you going with the favored Broncos team? Doesn't make any sense. They shouldn't be favored. Indianapolis has been playing better, and I really like it, but I'm not going to veto. that one. Chisholm, I think that was unfair.
That was
we're taking
decent.
it anyway.
That was decent. Anyway, thanks for your insight, Chisholm, but I'm still picking Denver at home over the Colts this week.
Nice.
Lock it up.
I like it. Let's lock it up. What if I were Chisholm? What would I want to do? What pile of stinking turd on this schedule would he run to?
Wait, I think I just got a call in from Chisholm. Got a call in from Chisholm.
The stinkiest one on here is probably the Saints or the Titans. Do you think he would actually go with one of those? It's not the Giants.
Wait, hold up.
The crappiest game is going to be the Jets.
I gotta say, you know what? You and your public picks, you always got to take the dog. I mean, 14.5 points. How can you not take the Giants 14.5? That's way too many points. Have you watched how Baltimore has played? No chance they're covering anything. Their defense is terrible. So, absolutely, way too many points. And you've seen that Baltimore has lost to the Raiders this year. The Browns, they've been troubled at best. Absolutely 14.5, way too many points. Go with the Giants on this one.
Well,
Try to smoke my stogie into the mic. There we go.
Well, thank you, Chisholm, for that call in. I don't know. I mean, the Giants, they really are bad, and they could certainly lose by 40 points.
That's a stay away from me. This might be a ladder
game. Yeah, I'm not going to mess with it because I could see it going 40. And
it's Chisholm, man. I don't know why he picked that, but you know what? That's what he does.
It's weird. It's a weird pick. Yeah. Well, anyway, so that's what we got. So we're going officially for shrewdness. Carolina -2.5 home against Dallas. Denver -4 home against the Colts. And Pittsburgh, the Steelers. We're going to get the points at Philly in this ratatouille.
Oh, are you saying that wasn't Chisholm?
Oh,
are you saying that I was making this up? That's ridiculous. That was totally Chisholm calling in on that.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to place this bet, though. I think we're going to place 3 shrewdness bets this week. And that's what we're going with. All right. I think that kind of covers our stuff for the week. Anything else you guys want to hit on before we wrap it up?
Do we want to acknowledge the doink for the division?
I mean,
okay, I have to be careful because I will become insufferable, and I will push away potential shrewdness listeners if I get into this. Yeah,
we don't want to do that.
I'm just saying, it's tough being a Chiefs fan. We probably should move on, but
it's a nice problem.
That's where my brain's at, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I absolutely was talking to my wife as it going down. I was like, I want to just have Pacheco run it, and see if he breaks it and gets in there. I do not want to rely on a kicker. We are on the replacement kicker of our replacement kicker, who just got signed because he was so bad he's on waivers. He's just on the couch. I don't want to pick up a couch guy and just hope he does it. And then stupid Collinsworth or whoever but not Collinsworth. It was Collinsworth. And it's like, well, they signed him for his accuracy. That's really the thing. It's not really the leg. It's just how accurate it is.
Now that they're in range, this should be no problem.
Oh, God. And as a Vikings fan, and all shrewdness fans out there, you know what I'm talking about. Boy, there are no chip shots. Like, for example, the 19-yard field goal to beat Seattle a few years ago. Oh, we can go wide left, baby. It doesn't matter how close you are, how easy it is. And I was just looking at that like, we're going to miss this field goal. And I don't know why we just gave away the time and the possession and didn't trust our players. I didn't like that. That's like a time I would have liked Dan Campbell's approach of just run it and trust your team to make plays. Yeah, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, D-Hop, Pacheco. I want those guys to control the game, not Matt Wright. So I hated that.
He's kind of Matt Wright, not Matt Wrong, brother. All right? You've got to
He's Matt Doink. He's Matt Doink, and
he's Matt, not right or wrong. He's just enough.
And when you're doing these super close games, and now I've got a third string kicker, you know the games I don't want to see. I don't want to rely on a kicker, man. If we get to the playoffs and we're hoping we can just run off clock and kick a 40-yard field goal, I will be beside myself. And then we're going to lose, and I'm going to be just irate.
Yeah,
it's not going to be good at all. And I want
to go ahead and point out. There's something very important to point out. The Chiefs
lost one game.
Have won more AFC West titles under Patrick Mahomes than they've lost games within the division.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Nope, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. I know, I got it. It's just what it is. All right, let's move on. I think that's what we got.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We got to do. You know what we need to do next year is have a shrewdness Geo League. We can have a friends and family of shrewdness. All we got to do is get up to 18.
It's a good idea. You know what? I will do a Lewis professionally managed buy-in league for anybody who is an actual shrewdness listener who wants in on our league. And trust me, I've got validation, right, Dex? I run a great league.
Possibly the best.
I run a great league, man.
It is.
Y'all want in on the Shrewdness League? That's a great idea, Dex. We're going to do it. We'll come up with a reasonable buy-in that might escalate over the years. And then we will have an actual Shrewdness League. And if you're in the Shrewdness League, you may become a guest. You never know. You might be a guest on your exit interview.
Ooh, that is money.
Perfect.
I love it. All right. Fantastic. So we got a Shrewdness League next year. That's
We're doing it.
Folks.
We're absolutely doing it.
Yep.
That's how these things happen live, just like this.
All in favor.
Here we go.
All in favor.
Yeah,
we had 3 out of 4 quorum. Chisholm voted yes. Hang on. I voted yes. Okay, we're good.
All right, I guess it's unanimous.
I think that's it. Here we go. Save us, Pruitt.
All right, that's enough for this week, y'all. That's it's been another fun week, crazy week on the guillotine world, but one of us managed to keep our heads. I probably deserved to lose mine. Dex probably deserved to keep his, but that's the craziness that is
guillotine fantasy football.
So anyway, we'll be back again next week to talk about hopefully another squeak by for the Gridiron Gorillas.
Woo! Good luck, Padog.
Until then, this is the Shrewdness Podcast signing off. Take care, y'all.